Sean Leon is CEO of GreeneStone Healthcare. Prior to his current position, Mr. Leon has 25 years of experience managing public and private development stage companies. His experience includes industrial minerals, natural resources, financial technology, hospitality, and medical. He has provided financing and M&A oversight for many companies in Canadian and U.S. markets. He is also president of Leon Developments, which has several sites in various stages of development. Mr. Leon?
Thank you. Hello, everybody, and I'm going to, under my lawyer's instructions, put that up right away so you have a chance to read it. And if I'm not speaking loud enough, please let me know, and I'll try and turn up the volume. So thanks for being here. So GreeneStone Healthcare Corporation is a Colorado corporation. We primarily operate medical clinics in Ontario, Canada. We have two different divisions. The first one is addiction treatment. We have one clinic in Muskoka, which is an area about 90 miles north of Toronto. It's sort of the Hamptons of Canada. A very nice area and a very nice clinic there for addiction treatment. The other one does outpatient addiction treatment in downtown Toronto. So that's for follow-up and aftercare and one-on-one counseling, that type of thing. The other two clinics that we have are in a different business, which is gastrointestinal. We do primarily endoscopy services. The two clinics are located in Toronto. The difference between these two businesses is the endoscopy business is a government-funded business operated by private operators, and the other one is a privately paid business. So the blue sky, why are we here? Why are we public? What's the big opportunity? The big opportunity, if you read it here, is providing private alternatives to publicly underserved healthcare needs and adding overflow capacity to an increasingly stretched provincial healthcare system. I'll give you an example. Adding overflow capacity to an increasingly stretched provincial healthcare system. All colonoscopies up until 20 years ago were done in a hospital in Ontario. About 20 years ago, the very first outpatient clinics started for colonoscopies, and they have grown until this last month in March, or just after March, April. The government has mandated that colonoscopies will no longer be done in hospitals in Ontario. They have to be done in private clinics. So this is an example of how the government's trying to offload the healthcare onto private clinics, and we can take advantage of that, not just in the business that we're in, but other businesses as they come along in the healthcare space. The second example is adding overflow capacity to an increasingly stretched provincial healthcare system. The government does addiction treatment as it is now. It does it in institutional type settings like a hospital. It's free, but a person might have to wait 6 months to get in. It's a very poor quality of treatment. It's not always effective. Somebody might go back to addiction treatment in the hospital 3 or 4 times. So people opt to pay for treatment in a facility like ours rather than take what's provided for by the government. That's happening more and more in Canada and more in Ontario. Our system is going away from government healthcare, whereas the American system is going towards government healthcare. I think the two systems are sort of coming closer together. But in Canada, in Ontario, there's huge opportunity in healthcare that hasn't existed before, and we're in a position to take advantage of that in many different ways. We're already about 60 employees. We're headquartered in Toronto. Our shares in this company started trading just over a year ago, March of last year. Our current stock price is today it's 10.5 cents. Market cap of just over $3 million. We will have 38.5 million shares when all of the current debt on the books is converted. Not all of it, but the convertible debt. There is currently only about 5.5 or 5.1 million shares that are on deposit. So the float is bigger. There is more free trading stock in the company, but it's not even deposited into the system. So we're at a very, very early stage with our share and our trading with just over a year in experience. So the highlights, there's a huge demand for mental health and addiction services in our community. We have a proven growth strategy. We started 2.5 years ago So we have demonstrated that we can do this and that we can execute. We are cash flow positive in this current quarter. Our year-over-year increase from 2012 over 2011 was 230%. We'll continue to grow the company at pretty good rates. We won't be as big as 230% this year, but we'll still have really decent growth this year. We have very little competition in the space we're in, so there's a very big opportunity for that, and the expansion opportunity for us is very, very big. So I'm going to just sort of get to the heart of what we're sort of looking for right now before I go tell you more about the company. We've had an opportunity recently to make a couple of acquisitions, and the potential targets have looked at us and said that we look a little too new and too undercapitalized to make those acquisitions, even though we had planned to raise money for the acquisitions. And we need to, prior to making another attempt at an acquisition, want to clean up our current balance sheet. So we want to take the property that we currently lease and bring it into the company. It's a property that's worth $8 million. We have financing lined up from the Bank of Montreal where they'll give us $5 million against the property. That'll give us $1 million in free cash. We have other commitments for equity of another, including the equity in the property of $4.5 million. So we're currently looking to complete this package for about $1.5 million of equity to be done at the same time as what we do here. The current balance sheet on the left-hand side was the end of 2012. It shows a deficit of about $3.5 million and a loss. So that's kind of what prevents us from getting credibility with some of the people that we're talking about with acquisitions. If we complete what we talked about on the previous page, our balance sheet would look more like what you see on the right-hand side with assets and more or less just bank debt and shareholder equity. And our revenues at current rates today, without any more growth, would be at $7.2 million, and we'd be making money. So that's kind of where we want to get to immediately, so that we can pursue our plan for growth and be looked at a little bit more favorably. The current, let me just back up one page. The 64 beds you see there, we have an opportunity with that financing to take over a government-owned facility on a lease basis. We wouldn't own it. So with that current financing, we can expand from the 36 beds that we have now up to 100 beds. So we've got really good value for the investment there. With the 100 beds, this is what we would look like in 2014, $21 million in revenue, making a net of about $5.6 million. You see our assets there would be up to $18.8 million with about $12.4 million in equity. So the return on this current financing, what we do, would be tremendous, and it's in a very short period of time. And that would be without any other acquisitions, which we plan to do, but we haven't got them identified at this point. The overall market growth, we talk a lot about our addiction and mental health business because that's where the real large opportunity is, and it's also very profitable business. The business of endoscopy is great. It's bread and butter. It's paid for by the government, but it's not a high margin business. The mental health business is a lot higher margin. So some of the things that we can say about the state of mental health and addiction in Canada, the federal government has set up the Mental Health Commission. This is a federal body that is looking into and reporting and revising on mental health and addiction. And through that commission, they've done tremendous amount of creating awareness in the marketplace that mental health and addiction is something that is talked about nowadays and is something that's far more looked at as a serious disease versus something that they want to hide in a closet. Employees and companies are identifying that and being very public about it. Bell Canada, which is a pretty big company in Canada, has committed $50 million this last year to just mental health and awareness, just making it aware and advertising and having mental health days. And there's just a tremendous amount of awareness in the economy in Canada at the moment for this disease. So there's the social stigma is coming down. It's something people are very accepting of, and people are recognizing that treatment is available and that we have to treat these illnesses rather than ignore them. The provincial governments are recognizing this as well. They are limited, however, by financial constraints in their ability to provide health care. So they're looking at, they're very willing to look at situations like ours where there's a private option, a private pay option, and they're very open to that. That's been something that's been frowned upon up until now. But now, because of their constraints and the fact that this is such a big problem, they're allowing companies like ours to get into this business and to provide these types of treatment. And of course, employers, they are really becoming aware of this, and we think that this is our biggest opportunity, is to provide services to companies for the treatment of addiction problems, because these people would otherwise be on short-term and long-term disability, which ultimately costs the company huge dollars. So and I'll get to that in a minute as to how we can show companies the benefit of doing treatment. In Canada, this is not all our business, but if you look at the mental health addiction supply and demand, 12% of the Canadian population suffer from issues arising from mental health and addictions. Generally speaking, we always say that 10% of all people have an addiction, and 2% of those need a bed. They actually need treatment. They need to be in a treatment center. So about 15%, that's how the numbers shake out to, that in Canada alone we need 75,000 beds, and we have about 10,000 beds. So there's a shortfall of 65,000 beds. We predict ourselves growing from 36 beds to 200 beds in a short period of time. You can see how that's such a tiny fraction of the actual need that is there. So for us to expand won't be very difficult, because the need and the demand is so high. Specifically with companies, the government, we know, is all for treatment but don't have the money for it. So where's the money going to come from? Those people that have the ability to pay are paying, but we see the real the real opportunity in getting companies to pay for this. These are some statistics that you'll read here about some of the costs. 500,000 people are off sick every day with mental health problems in Canada, costing $4.5 billion annually in lost productivity. Mental health consumes 14% of the net profits of Canadian companies. The corporations understand all these numbers, and they don't know what to do about it. They don't know how to deal with it, and it's an ever-increasing cost. So what we like to talk to them about, and this is a program that we're rolling out. This is an actual employer. This is a car manufacturing company. This is a study that was done by one of the hospitals who, at home, this particular hospital does provide some private addiction treatment. They did the study. There's 5,600 employees, and their disability costs, you can see on the right hand, was $4.5 million a year. That's a combination of lost productivity, the benefit cost, and the salary cost. Those are people that are off sick in this company. The proposal to this company was to spend money on treatment as opposed to letting people stay home. What they did, and you can see in the chart here, the column on the right, the section that shows 546, this company spent $546,000 on addiction treatment for 70 individuals that were affected with that in the particular year of the study, which was in 2011. So their disability costs went, you can see how it shrunk from the column on the left was their current cost, and it shrunk into that amount on the right because they treated people, which meant they got back to work sooner than being off on disability. So they actually had a return on investment for the money they spent on treatment. When we present this case to corporations will contract with us to have a ready supply of treatment for employees that are affected by this problem. That's where we think our biggest amount of growth will come from, because it's one thing to say people need the treatment, it's another thing to say how are they going to pay for it, who's going to pay for it. And in our case, we think that the corporations will be the ones that will pay for it. So the public entity is what's listed here on the bulletin board. It's a Colorado corporation. We own 2 subsidiaries, both of them Canadian. One of them runs our private paid business, which is the addiction treatment. The other one runs the endoscopy business, which is the government funded. So we have them set up in 2 separate corporations. This is our growth since we started. We did very little business when we first came out of the gate in 2010. To a couple $100,000, another just over $1 million, $1.5 million in 2011, $5.5 million in 2012. We'll probably be at least $8 million this year, without adding any acquisition. So we are growing very quickly, and of course we anticipated being even larger this year because we had already anticipated having an acquisition this year. And we still may have one this year, but this is what we're trying to do now, is just to solidify the company balance sheet and continue to go after that growth. So this is just, I'm going to now just show you a little bit about what we have and where it is. This is a picture of our addiction treatment center. This is a 43-acre site with 50,000 square feet of buildings. There's 11 different buildings on the site. We currently have it set up for 36 beds. It can become 54 beds. And without doing any physical building or anything, just relaying it out, we have a beautiful fitness facility, 8,000 square foot indoor and outdoor pools. Our treatment is very holistic, so people learn about fitness and nutrition and get all sorts of education when they come to our place. So it's a very well-regarded facility. I laugh because the other day we got a referral and the person was told that they should either go to Betty Ford or to our place. And so I said, well, they've been around for a long time and we've only been around for a little time, so it was a pretty big compliment. But we are regarded as a very professional, high-end, very good quality treatment facility, and our team is second to none in Canada, probably in the entire North America. And we have a huge number of new opportunities coming at us. The police forces in Ontario have all banded together and picked us as the treatment provider for their employees. They've even got funding through their Workers' Compensation Board to pay for our treatment. We have the Physicians Health Program in Ontario sending all the doctors to us now. So we're very well regarded, which will provide us a lot of growth going forward. We are $27,000 for 45 days, which is in the sort of medium range compared to comparative service of ours in the United States would probably cost you $60,000 for the same period of time, at least double. We are happy with the prices, but as we grow, we'll also be able to increase our prices that we charge. We get people to pay for single rooms and deluxe rooms. Like we have suites that are nicer than other suites, so we do often get more than the $27,000. The way the valuation works is that based on the price range we have, we can generate a gross margin of about $250 per day per bed, which if you multiply that out by a year, you get close to $100,000 per bed. And if you use a multiple of 10, you can say that a value of a bed is $1 million. And in fact, from 06 to 08, private equity was buying up all the treatment centers in the U.S. and they were paying between $1 and $1.4 million per bed. That number has gone down during the recessionary times from 08 until now, but some recent transactions have happened in the $700,000 to $800,000 range. So if we're looking at if we have 100 beds, are we worth $100 million? Well, if we're going to be conservative, we might say we're worth $50 million, but that's an easy way to look at the value of our company. Take the number of beds we have that are full, multiply it by somewhere between 500,000 and $1 million, and you'll get a good valuation of what we're worth. And that's not including any of our other lines of business. We have chosen to focus on boomers, executives, and professionals. And a second stream, which we would like to add, would be young adults, 21 to 30. At the moment, we try and keep those people out of our facility because we find that they're a clash with the type of people that are older. And once in a while, we will take somebody if they demonstrate maturity and the ability to mix with our people, which are working class people, professionals, people that have money and can afford to come. We will sometimes take in a younger person, but that's a huge market that we currently are not servicing, and we also can expand by just getting into that market. This is a picture of the facility we have in the downtown core, which is does our outpatient and aftercare. This has CRC, which is a company in the United States that was public, which was bought by Bain back in, I forget what year, I think around 2008. Made more money in their outpatient and aftercare clinics than they did in their inpatient clinics. So for every inpatient clinic you could have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of these outpatient clinics. So this is a very, also a very good business, and are currently, with the one location, have the capacity to generate about $75,000 a month out of this business, where our inpatient business would do more like $500,000 a month. So the contribution from this business, from this one location, once it's running at capacity, would be about $500,000 per year. The contribution from the inpatient facility would be between $3 and $3.5 million, and you can see that that would be a much larger part of our income than the outpatient. This is just a picture of one of our endoscopy clinics. We have 2 of these. Currently with 3 endoscopy suites. We're expanding that currently to 5 suites, and we're adding an operating room, which will allow us to bring in revenue from operations. We can rent that suite out at a very good price per hour, and or do surgeries ourselves, like gastric banding, which fits in with the gastroenterology nature of that business, and again allows us to generate more revenue from the existing facilities. Again, that at the capacity for the current suites without the new expansion is about $500,000 a year. So we should probably be closer to $1 million a year in revenue generation from this business once we hit capacity. The company is very lean. I'm the president and CEO. I work together with a vice president, 2 vice presidents, Andrew Galloway and Anita Teslak, who are trained professionals. Dr. Perrick is the person that looks over after the endoscopy side of the business. So there's really only 4 of us that, both work clinically and do the management of the business. I'm the only person in the company that doesn't work clinically. Everybody else is a manager and a clinical operator, so they're generating revenue while they're managing. So our management is very lean. We do also have a CFO, which is a fairly low salary that operates on, doesn't do clinical, but we have very, very lean overhead. All of our folks are very involved in both the management and operation of the business, and we have a terrific set of people behind this company, and that's what's allowed us to get where we are today and will allow us to get further down the road. So with that, I'll end the presentation, and thank you for coming.